Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Let's talk about ghosts. Your experiences, your moms, your dogs, whatever.
My friend's uncle used to be a guard at this old prison, has since been closed down in the late 70s to mid-80s. He had a few experiences of his own and also heard of some others. One dude was put in solitary confinement for the night, not because he had been doing something wrong, but because the lock on his door had stopped working and they needed somewhere to put him fast. It's about 2:30 in the morning. The uncle is just doing his usual rounds. Suddenly, the guy in the solitary confinement cell starts screaming, calling out for help and to be let out of there. Loud enough they can hear him through the soundproof door. The uncle and another guard open up to see what the problem is. Guy is as white as a sheet, shaking. They eventually calm him down and ask him what the hell happened. He says this guy just appeared in his room and sat down on the bed and started to have a conversation with him. Introduced himself. Inmate doesn't know this, but the man he claims to have spoken to is actually a former inmate who was hung there around 100 years earlier, is buried literally on the other side of the wall to the solitary confinement cell. This happens several times to people who are sent to that solitary confinement cell. They eventually have to stop using it, and when someone acts up, they're sent to one in another wing. I have more, if people are interested. This one inmate's wife visits him every weekend for the 12 years he's been in there. Gets sick with stomach cancer. Starts to come less and less often. Eventually, she doesn't come at all. Her sister calls the prison and says she's in the hospital, probably only a month left at the most. One night, his uncle is doing his rounds again. Hears a man talking to a woman in his room. Listens for a few minutes to make sure he's definitely not hearing things. Opens the slat on the guy's door up and turns the light on. Only the one guy in there. Asks him who he was talking to. He says, "My wife." The uncle just assumes the dude was doing impressions or something and leaves it alone. Next morning, the prison gets another call from the woman's sister. Turns out she died around 8 the night before. Wife of the inmate who was supposedly talking to his wife the night before. The prison counselor takes him in to tell him, and apparently when he heard, he just said, "I know." Guards would hear him talking to his wife quite often after that, and it was around then that people, guards and inmates, started to talk about seeing a woman in casual dress wander around that particular wing. I'll just post another to bump the thread. Not my friend's uncle's story, but he was there on the day and it's confirmed by a bunch of other people. Be about 7 a.m. None of the inmates are out of their cells yet. Guard watching the security cameras says there's someone out in the yard, by the wall. Dressed somewhat like an inmate, they can't tell if it's one that got out or somehow a civilian who got in. Radios a couple guards nearby, says the guy's down there. They go to investigate. Call the guy back once they're down there because no one is there. Guard watching can still see the guy on cam, along with the guards tells them this. Guards are adamant that there's no one there. They go into the security area to see for themselves. Definitely a guy there just standing with his head down. He eventually just fades out. There's a tape still around somewhere.
My father told me one time that a while back he was at his friend's house talking to him in the kitchen about shit. Before I continue, his friend's kitchen was shaped just like a square, with a doorway leading right to the front door. Like if you were facing the door out of the kitchen, you could see the front door. Anyway, my dad said that he all of a sudden just stopped talking to his friend and looked straight at the kitchen doorway and locked up. He couldn't move. He said he felt like there was something there, just blocking him from making it to the front door. He then told me his friend started praying and talking about the Bible, and the feeling went away. And my dad noped out of there.
Be 12 years old. Sleepover at this lagoon near my house, complete with slides, water, grass, sand, and an open dock to take boats out to the lake nearby. Sleepover was for Cub Scouts. I wasn't in Boy Scouts, but my friend was, and he invited me to stay the night. 12 a.m., witching hour begins. Start to feel the hair on my neck stand up. Feels like someone is watching me. Ominous vibes. Look across the lagoon toward the docks. See the light turn on. It's one of those motion-sensing lights. It only turns on when someone is nearby. Also, it doesn't turn on for smaller animals like ducks or rabbits, only for larger-sized animals like coyotes or humans. It turns off automatically after a minute. Feel spooked out, I went with my friend to talk to the guard at the entrance to the lagoon and tell him what's up. Guard is also perplexed as to why the light came on. The docks close at dusk. We decided to all walk over to the docks. Ominous feeling increases as we approach the docks. Search everywhere and check everything. Can't find anyone or anything wrong except one thing. The one thing out of place is that the sales cabinet was unlocked. Guard told me that the cabinet is always locked, even during open hours for security reasons. Proceeds to lock up the cabinet. Head on back to the tents on the other side of the lagoon. Be back at the tents with my friend, having a friendly chat with some of the Cub Scouts' dads. Keep getting that feeling someone is watching me over by the docks, so I keep checking back 1:15 a.m. now, prime witching hour time. I looked over toward the docks at coincidentally the same time as my friend. Both of us see something move near the docks, between two short pillars. Whatever it was pitch black, had an amoeba shape to it, and it was maybe 5 feet tall and 6 feet wide. It moved very quickly between the two pillars, and I knew my eyes weren't playing tricks on me for lack of sleep, because my friend saw it move too. Saw it move again between two more pillars, but my friend didn't see it that time. Coincidentally, when the guard had to leave since his shift was over, the phantom popped out soon after. This has been the only confirmed sighting of a ghost, phantom in my lifetime. I've had weird paranormal experiences and reality glitches before, but they could all be rationalized in some way. This, however, still boggles me today.
Went to an abandoned retirement home turned school. Built in 1920, morgue in the basement, etc. Group of 5 didn't go to ghost hunt or anything, just exploring this massive building. Been there an hour, covered the first 3 floors and the roof. Head down dark narrow stairs to the 4th floor. Everyone heads into a small room to check out a desk with a bunch of CDs and paperwork on it. Hear whispering from around the corner, not more than 10 feet away. I'm closer to the sound than the people in the room. Besides, they were talking loud. I shine my flashlight down the hall. Whispers stop. Turn the flashlight off. Whispers start again. Sounds like 2 people around the corner. Make out, those people. Think I'm going crazy, go check it out, flashlight off. Turn the corner quickly and shine the light down the hall. Nothing but a 50-foot hallway. Scared, but dismissed it as rustling of papers. Turn back, and one of the people in our group is staring at me, wide-eyed. He says, "You heard that too?" Freak out, nope, .html out of there. Looked for signs of people in the building when we got out. Nothing. There's another building on the property. Some odd stuff with that place too.
I have a couple of stories. I lived in a good number of houses as a kid because my parents divorced and lived with my mother and older brother. Well, here we go. Be around 12 years old, I live in a creepy house at the end of the neighborhood where the tennis club was. This doesn't mean it was a fancy house though. Was the only house at least 50 meters to each side. Gigantic road of those electricity towers that you'll see on a freeway or something. No one hasn't lived here for about 3 years at least. The doors crack. The main door to the garage is broken. The only way to close it is with a bar lock that we later put on it. The house was like a really long rectangle, just 3 rooms. Use 1 room for storage, since the house is kinda small and we can't fit all of our furniture in boxes and shit. That one was at the end of a hallway, so it didn't matter much anyway. It was at the side of the bathroom my brother and I have to use. It was a really badly designed house. No light in the hallway until the very end, where there was a metal door that led to the patio, and if you turned to the left, it led to my mom's room. One night in our room, a few months after we moved in, like 2 months, my brother and I were in our room. My mother was at a party and my brother was 25, I think. We're making funny shadows with our hands using the light of one of those mosquitoes traps. Like 20 minutes later than when we finished our little game, I see a shadow in the ceiling above me. Ask him what that is supposed to be. He says it's not him. We both get up as we see the shadow go out of our room. We slept with the door open, directly to the living room, making some weird spins around the light bulb. which was turned on, and then disappeared. So by this time a couple of weird things have happened, but nothing like this. That's why we slept with the door open and light from outside the room. Before that, we had just heard voices in that little hallway outside of our room, which uselessly had a window to the hallway just to see a concrete wall. Anyway, here goes another one, some months later. Was with my bro about to sleep. By this time we sleep with the TV on, and we realize that it's two ways. Either we go to sleep before 2 a.m. or we don't sleep, but that day we decided to go to sleep. Anyway, it was like 2:30 a.m. He gets up and goes to the door to turn off the light in our bedroom. Outside lights were on. As he turns it off, I see the figure of someone sitting on his bed. Nope.jpg. Tell him to turn on the light, screaming. Why? Just turn it on. Then I told him, and he said, oh well, what can we do? Turned it off again. Then the shadow was right before him just to reveal how big it is, like a bodybuilder, football player or something. My brother was like 25 by that time, and he's a tall dude. We both scream. He turns the lights back on. Spend the rest of the night playing PS2.
Great uncle is a lord back home in Scotland. Very rich, very upper class. When I was 8 to 13 years old, he lived by himself in a gigantic castle outside of Aberdeen, and sometimes I would visit when my parents went on holidays. He only lived in one half of said castle. The half he lived in was fully furnished. The other half was left in utter disrepair and ruin. He never let us in there and refused to talk about it at all. If we asked him questions, he just ignored us like parents do when they're not listening. He also hated us trying to get into the underground parts of the castle, but that was probably only because he chucked all his old furniture in there and the place smelled whenever you opened the door. Anyway, one day I decided to venture to the other half of the castle. The only entrance is through the back door, as all doors leading to the forbidden parts were made into walls. The back door is glass-paned and about 100 years old. Try the handle. Locked. Shit. Peering through the window in the door, the room I saw was furnished similarly to the rest of the castle, only very dark and obviously going to ruin. Go back to the main castle. My great-uncle saw me go there. Tells me he sees a ghost of one of his friends regularly at the foot of his bed at night. Ghost chats with him, but always tells him never to go to the other part of the castle. That part scared me half to death. I remember thinking that I could have died or something that night. To add to the creepiness, I drove past that castle recently when visiting a friend at uni. My great-uncle had moved away by this point, and the entire forbidden half of the castle was gone. Apparently, the new owners had had trouble with all the same rooms my great-uncle and his friend did.
This happened about a year ago. I had moved my sleeping accommodations to the basement, raised ranch, so still windows on 2 walls, and was working on clearing the room of all the junk that had been slowly growing in it. Since my family is poor, I'm stuck with air mattresses to sleep on, and ones that don't hold air throughout the night. I eventually just took a bunch of pillows and blankets and made a pad of sorts. Worked pretty well, too. Anyway, I've never quite felt comfortable down there. Something about the air felt off. I was in bed one night, the only light on being one through the door that separated that little living area from the laundry room, then the stairs to the rest of the house. I had been sleeping down there for a few weeks by then, so I was accustomed to the atmosphere of the room. For some reason, I had the urge to look towards the door. The area around it seemed unusually dimmed, like something was filtering the light behind the door. I looked at the doorknob and it felt like 2 eyes were reflecting off the metal. That's when I had an overwhelming sense of fear. Being raised in a Christian family, I had the instinct to just yell out whatever comes to mind so I could banish the demon. I don't quite remember what I said, but what I do remember is barely being able to articulate the words, as my tongue wouldn't do its job. Finally, after raising my voice loud enough, I managed to say something coherent, and it seemed to work. The shadow shrunk through the doorframe and out of the room, and the feeling of fear was gone. It's safe to say that my mind had a good enough excuse to spend the night on the couch upstairs. This is the first of 2 instances where this exact scenario took place. Some shadow manifests in the room, intense fear, followed by almost coherent, "In the name of Jesus," shouting. I tend to frequent the couch in this house. Goddamn ghosts, just let me sleep.
I've seen shadows a couple of times, and I can also tell when they are close. My peripheral view suddenly grows stronger. My ears suddenly begins detecting lower noises, and it becomes hard to breathe. The moment I make eye contact, it's all over. I'm frozen until it either walks or floats away or until I pass out. Damn annoying, scary shit, bro. I wonder if they can harm me.
Be a fat 12-year-old kid, playing tibia. All alone at home, parents are out drinking and my brother is at the playground. Zero clue of paranormal stuff. Got hungry, went to the kitchen, walked through the hallway. There's a huge frame protected by glass of when my father went to Spain. Notice something strange is walking. Notice in my peripheral eyesight my reflection didn't show up. It comes back. Reflection of a cranky old man that looks like an evil school principal, head angled slightly downwards. Notices me. Slowly opens a smile from ear to ear while staring at me with a murderous glare. Nope, nope, nope. Ran as fast as I could and sat in a corner in the living room. Didn't leave the apartment, too afraid to turn my back to any of the 3 entrances of the living room. Cried for 2 hours till my parents arrived with my brother. Right now hoping it was my imagination.
I lived and worked in a backpackers hostel for 9 months in the middle of a national park. The hostel is closed for winter. Staff reunited in the closed hostel for a farewell party. Creepy feeling as I entered the building. Shared a small dorm room with my friend next to the men's bathroom. Few hours had passed. We were all chatting, had a couple of beers, etc. Went to the toilet, entered the cubicle. Overpowering and unwelcome sense of something right behind me. Mentally apologized, saying, "I'm sorry if I have upset you. I'm just visiting. I used to live here." The feeling is beyond anything I've ever sensed. Horrible. Flush the toilet. Nervously but quickly open the door. Nothing there. Leave the bathroom immediately. A few hours pass, I keep quiet about it, but then I say to my friend, "Something weird happened earlier." He says in the bathroom, "Yes, WTF?" I start telling the story. He stops me mid-sentence and says the exact same thing happened to him when he went to the bathroom. He said, "I mentally apologized and said I'm just visiting and I used to live here." We both reacted the same way. We both said nothing to each other for a few hours after it happened. We still talk about it to this day. The feeling I experienced was so overwhelming that I cannot explain it in words. Also, this happened in a building I was familiar with, had lived in for 9 months, and nothing strange had ever happened before then.
Posted this in a different thread, but judging from the subject matter, this one seems more suitable for it. Be in my early teens, watch TV before going to bed, wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of night, feel this urge to walk into the living room. Everything is pitch black, but I have no issues navigating my way towards the windows overlooking the backyard. Everything suddenly goes cold, like I've stepped into a freezer. But strangely enough, it's not uncomfortable at all. Instead, it feels liberating, and I'm light as a feather. I look outside, and in the middle of the yard I see a shrouded figure, all black with no visible face. I can't see a face, but I feel it staring at me intensely. I black out, and when I come to, it's morning, and I'm back in my bed. I figure it's a dream, but when I walk out to the living room, I see sweaty handprints on the inside of the windows, right at the spot where I saw the thing from. Anybody knows what this was all about? Whatever it was, it didn't feel like it wanted to harm me. Quite the opposite, actually. Before that happened, I lived with this constant fear of death, but after it got a lot better. The encounter somehow taught me to accept death.
15 years old. I live in a small town in England. We go drinking near this lake because we're too young for bars. Small stables just near the lake. Decide to go in and have a look. Couple of friends go inside an unlocked van and chill out. I take a walk over to the horses out in the field. Look over towards the road in the horizon, and a shadowy figure begins to approach over the brow of the hill. It comes closer. Once it reaches around 10 to 15 meters away, I see him wearing a typical British farmer's gear. Boots, jacket, hat, and what looks like a double-barreled shotgun in his left hand just lowered away from him. Sprint like shit and tell my friends that the farmer is here. Friends tell me that they was watching me and nobody was there. Swear to God that was creepy as hell. Only ghostish experience I've had ever.
I don't normally Greentext, so bear with me. Be around 2 years ago, going through acute depression and the beginnings of psychosis, lose touch with friends as I base in my despair. Brother, who is a year younger, moves out. Be chilling in his room one night, strumming bass guitar, thinking to myself, I wonder if I should or could sell my soul for this ability. Vertigo strikes, feel as if being watched, immediately spring to my feet, white out a bit, lights in my field of vision. Rush downstairs to retrieve a cigarette to soothe my nerves. Stop at the foot of the steps. Look at the top of the stairs. Pinpoint of red light suspended just above the top. Walk to the top of the stairs. At the point of light here within and audibly, we know who you are. Nope. Fast forward several months later. Be me sitting in my room reading over the Bible, Genesis and Old Testament, taking notes out of curiosity. Feel the need for a break, so I head downstairs. In front of the corn-burning stove because it is warm and winter. Irrationally look behind me, taking attention from the fire behind tempered glass. Ball of white light swaying back and forth behind the framed entryway to the stairs. Ball of light disappears after several moments. Glass door to the entertainment system swings open forcefully and stops perpendicular to furniture. Glass doors are hard to work with and open. Atop of the entertainment system is house cat. No dams were given. Ball of light emerges to the side of me in the frame of the window, not sure if inside or out, but suspended. Disappears after several moments. Fucks were given and a tear shed. Yes, .jpg. Since then, randomly, I will see wisps of light with the width of a point. I feel more attached to the cat as well. We get each other, and I didn't mention that a Jack Russell mutt was with me too. He never leaves my side anymore.
B12. 8 p.m. It's already dark in our region. Outside a school auditorium with a bunch of other kids who I don't know waiting for our parents attending a conference inside the auditorium. In front of the auditorium is a basketball court, then the school building. The second floor of the school building is a balcony and hallway with doors leading to the classrooms. See a figure walking on said second floor balcony. Every column it passes, it fades a little, completely disappears at a column, and a door near to said column suddenly opens and closes. One of the kids told his friends that he saw said door opening and closing with no one there to do it. Kid is scared and close to crying. I'm just not that scared anymore when I see them, since I see them all the time back then. Also, B17. Sleeping in my room. Feels someone is watching me. Wakes up and sees a man standing on the side of my bed. Looks sketchy and thuggish. Man fades away. Turn around and sleep.
16 years old. Just moved into a new house with my best friend and her family. Chain smoke like an old man. Occasionally see what look like human reflections in the kitchen window. Reflected figures dart out of view upon entering the room. Can never be sure reflections were there to begin with. Friend sees the same shit. Not terribly concerning. Go on with life. Regularly leave cigarettes laying around the house, on the coffee table, in the kitchen, on the nightstand. Entire packs start going missing, even when placed in safe locations. Get pissy. That shit's expensive. Ask around, nobody knows anything. God damn it. Missing packs begin turning up in random locations, between stacked pots in a kitchen cupboard, wedged under a broken tile behind the toilet, under a rock in the garden. What the fuck? Live with this for months. Get used to it. Stop talking about it. Get drunk one night with friend and friend's mom. Start bullshitting, telling spooky stories, having a good time. Friend's mom starts talking about the house's history. Says the realtor told her about previous owners. One of them had lung cancer and ended up dying in his bedroom. In my bedroom. Oh shit.
Ghosts are real. There's a lot of evidence. I've had some experiences too in my life in my own house. They could have perfectly been my own brain messing with me. But there's the doubt. One in the bathroom. Suddenly a shampoo bottle gets knocked down right in front of me. Spherical base. Shit makes no sense. 2, be in my bedroom, alone at home. Hear footsteps coming from the bathroom next to my bedroom. Bathroom starts vibrating. Go see WTF is going on. Nothing's in there. Windows are all closed. Something hits my back. It starts burning. Watch my back in the mirror. 4 scratches appear right on the middle of my back. Didn't sleep that night. I have a photograph of dem scratches. I'll try to find it. 3, be sleeping. 5 a.m. Hear a loud distant scream and wake up. The computer suddenly starts running. Hear a whisper, "No puedes esconderte de los fantasmas." You can't hide from ghosts. Freak out and go for a walk at 6 a.m. Didn't sleep the next night. 4, finish taking a shower. Take my towel and get out of the shower. Start drying up. An ice-cold breeze hits my legs. I hear very clearly a female voice saying "Hola," hello, and a distant giggle. The breeze stops. All 4 happened about 2 years ago in the same month. Nothing else has happened since. Looks like we had visitors for a while. Believe since then.
B16. Taking a shower. All of a sudden I feel like I'm being watched. Get out of the shower. Parents are still downstairs watching TV, I assume, because their bedroom door is open and the room is empty. Hear something coming from somewhere upstairs. It's my room. What? Walk in. A large, almost panel-looking thing of blue lights, 3 rows of 3 about as tall as me, flashes twice and is gone. Never see it again or have any explanation. Also, I have a nightmare. I am in my house, but it is like an inverted reality or some such nonsense. Everything is black and gray. There are doors, but they don't lead to anywhere. Everything looks as it did in my house, just bleak and gray. There are shadow figures populating most rooms, far more people than are in my family, conversing, doing all kinds of stuff. I can't communicate with them and they don't know I exist. I walked around for what felt like hours trying to find a way out. I am followed by my cat in the dream. He just stares at me when I stop looking for the exit. At this point, not knowing it was a dream, I literally thought I was dead and this was my hell, my afterlife, and that I was stuck in this forever. Pondered in my dream that it might be a dream and tried to force myself to wake up as I have done in other dreams. Nothing worked. More hours go by, still trapped in my shadow house, ignored by the shadow people, still being stalked by my cat. I finally woke up, sweating and almost crying because I seriously thought I was dead and in hell. My cat is on my bed watching me. I gave my cat to a relative and I am deathly afraid of cats still to this day.
So I'm from South America. I grew up in my grandma's house. That house is older than water. And it was haunted like apparitions and random noises at night. One story is when my mom was like 7, a man used to get in bed with her every night. She said he was a soldier because she felt his clothes and army fatigues, and he just used to lay there with her every night and push her, and she was frightened to the point she couldn't sleep. She couldn't move, and nobody believed her till she told my grandma, and insisted that this man keeps getting in bed with her at night and pushes her. So my grandma had the house blessed by a priest and moved the bed somewhere else. Now my dead uncle, he died like 3 years ago. He had a small apartment he built to the end of the house, and no one but my uncle dared to spend the night in that part of the house. It was the spookiest and most haunted place in the house. I don't know how the hell my uncle had the balls to sleep there for years. Maybe it was because he passed out from all the booze he drank. But anyways, my mom and father slept there on different occasions. My father vowed to never sleep in there again. He said the door opened by itself and closed again. My mom said the same thing, and that she heard somebody strike a coin against the window. My uncle had told one time that he woke up to see 2 leprechauns or demons fighting, and he took out a belt he had and tried to whip them away. He would feel at night something pull his leg, so one time he brought a coconut and did some ritual. Another story, my uncle's girlfriend had been sitting under a tree beside the house, and she saw a man with a long coat and a big hat, and she ran like there was no tomorrow. Years later, my neighbor tells my mom his daughter saw the same man. and my mom told him that years ago my uncle's GF saw the same man. My uncle is dead. He died of cancer. Only my dear grandma lives there alone, and she says she hears him call her from time to time by her name.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.